welcome to Plaid Stallion's Toy Ventures. I'm your host, Brian, and our subject this week is the Mattel Tarzan action figure line from 1978. It's one of the more underrated and largely forgotten things Mattel has ever done, and that's a shame. To give you a bit of a backstory, Mattel ended the U.S. version of the Big Jim toy line in 1976, and that left Mattel without a boys' action figure line for the first time since 1972. Around this time, Mattel would also begin dabbling with licensing. Traditionally, they shied away from television or movie properties in lieu of creating their own brands, but seeing the success of companies like Kenner with the $6 Million Man, Ideal with Evel Knievel, and of course Mego with their multiple TV and movie lines, they would begin to tip their toes in the water of licensing. The first attempt would be the big-budget syndicated science fiction TV series Space 1999, which sold surprisingly well in 1976. This would be followed up in 1977 with Welcome Back, Kotter, which wasn't a success. Big Jim, despite being MIA from U.S. toy shelves, was alive and well in Europe, particularly France, Germany, Italy, and Spain. One of the most popular lines for the 1970s were the Western-themed characters, some of which was based on the popular Karl May books. Westerns hadn't fallen out of fashion with European children, and there were many cowboy-themed action figure lines we North American kids were blissfully unaware of. For 1978, Mattel had two returning homegrown lines in the form of Pulsar, the Ultimate Man of Adventure, and the Shogun Warriors, but Space 1999 was canceled and Kotter was a flop, so it left them with no licensed properties. Also, there was all that wonderful European Big Jim tooling they could capitalize on. So, for 1978, Mattel introduced three new licensed action figure lines, all of them utilizing that rich catalog of Big Jim tooling, including groovy new bodies with gripping hands that were the standard in Europe at the time. The Life of Times of Grizzly Adams was a popular television series about a reclusive man who lives in the woods with a bear and a Native American friend named Nakoma to talk to. Mattel proposed all three characters, but only the humans made it to the marketplace. The grizzly bear was also featured in European Big Jim catalogs, but it's likely he never saw any manufacturing. Sadly, the TV series would be canceled just before Christmas '78, so The Life of Times of Grizzly Adams didn't seem a second year. While the Grizzly Adams figure featured a head sculpt that was distinctly Dan Haggerty, the Nakoma head sculpt would find its way into other European Big Jim lines as different Native American characters. How the West Was Won was a weekly series loosely based on the movie of the same name. It starred James Arness, and Mattel produced an action figure of his character Zeb, and one based on a character called Lone Wolf, but as I tried to research this, I can only find reference to a character called One Wolf on the series. One Wolf was played by Ivan Naranjo, who also voiced Tonto on the Filmation Lone Ranger series. This line also included a horse, which, like much of the figures, was culled from the European Western lines. For the third license, and the only one that wasn't set in the Old West, Mattel chose Tarzan. This was likely due to the popularity of the Saturday morning series produced by Filmation. Mattel would enjoy a wonderful working relationship with Filmation in just a few short years. Tarzan had famously been one of the original members of the Mego World's Greatest Superheroes lineup, but the figure sold poorly and Edgar Rice Burroughs Incorporated canceled the license in 1975. You can find out more about Mego Tarzan in our video on the subject. I'll leave a link below. Tarzan Lord of the Jungle debuted in 1976 and would run for 4 seasons. Mattel jumped on the property, although the toy line offers no real connection to the series itself. Absolutely no tooling was produced for the Tarzan figures. The head was merely a repainted Big Jeff action figure, and his sole accessory was a knife used in multiple Big Jim sets. There were 2 Tarzan offerings, each pairing him with an animal opponent, namely a gorilla and a jungle cat, both of which were from popular Big Jim sets. If Jungle Cat looks familiar, it's because he later had a second career as He-Man's main method of transportation, Battle Cat. Mattel never throws out anything. Both sets were sold on gigantic, colorful card backs. J.C. Penney also offered the Gorilla set in their 1978 Wish book, although I'm not certain if anyone owns a mailer box version of this. None of these toys would return for 1979, unfortunately, as Mattel headed for space with Battlestar Galactica and a new lineup for the Shogun Warriors. On the secondary market, the Tarzan sets are the most desirable of this series and the most difficult to track down. I personally cannot afford a mint-on-card Tarzan set. I actually only own this damaged card. I also have the bubble somewhere. But it's so massive, I'm not even sure where I'd put a mint-on-card set if I had one. That's a serious amount of real estate. Did you have this Tarzan set as a kid? What about Grizzly Adams? Would you want a Grizzly Adams? Let me know in the comments below. Or you can hit me up on Twitter at Plaid Stallions. We have a Facebook group called Pod Stallions where we'd love to talk this stuff with you. Or you can let me know on the Plaid Stallions Facebook page. No wrong way to do it. You'll get me. Thanks as always for watching. If you are new to this, I hope you'll consider hitting like and subscribe. I do this every week. Until next time, have fun.